Hello, everyone, and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the NBA DFS live stream for the for February 10th. This is Friday. Going to be doing the core picks for today. A little bit different yesterday, obviously, since we had the trade deadline. We didn't know exactly who's going to be playing, who is not going to be playing, and everything else like that. So I did go over the Patreon post that I do put out in the morning, but did update the core picks as we went throughout the night. So I'm going to be doing a recap of those core picks. We're going to talk about the injuries in play for tonight's slate, who's playing, who's kind of not. A lot of the news is still going to be coming out as the day moves along, especially with the trades. Some of these guys that did get traded, maybe they're going to play today, maybe they're not. We have a couple notes on some of those so far, but not quite everybody at this point in time. But if we do get any updates on that throughout the day, as well as injury updates, I'll leave it down in the comments. As always, everyone welcome in. If you have any questions at any point during the live stream, feel free to leave them in the chat. If you are watching on replay, feel free to leave them down in the comments, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible as well. We got David up in here, Coach the Legend, he says. What's up, Dad? So, David's in here, but pretty much what we're going to be doing right off the bat, talking about the core picks from yesterday. So on the DraftKings side, we had Chris Paul. He was $7,300, looking for 37 points. We got to 42.75. And then, so he obviously was a hit. At shooting guard, we had Damon Lee at $3,200, looking for 16 points. Got to 20.5. So he was a hit. Probably would have liked him to be a little bit better. Obviously, there were some other guys on that Suns team that did pop off. So if you played him, you weren't too upset about it. But there were guys like Ish Wainwright and Josh Okogie that were slightly better plays overall as well. At small forward, we had Lonnie Walker at $3,100, looking for 15, 16 points. Got 24.25. So he was a really good hit as well. And then at power forward, we had Giannis, $12,300, looking for 61, 62 points. Got to 64.5. So obviously he was a hit as well. And then last but not least, that value that did open up late in the day with Day'Ron Sharpe, with the news of Nick Claxton being out. $3,400, looking for 17 points. Got 26 yesterday, so he is a hit as well. So 5 out of 5 on the DraftKings side. If you have some exposure to somebody like Josh Okogie, Nikola Jokic, as well as this lineup, had a very solid day all around yesterday. Then on the FanDuel side, we had Trae Young at point guard, $9,400, looking for 47 points. He got to 59.4, so he was a really good hit. At shooting guard, we had Damon Lee once again, $3,900, was looking for 19.20 on him, got to 19.8, so he was a hit as well. Small forward, we did get Josh Okogie as a core play over there, $3,700, looking for 18, 19 points. Got to 46.3, so he was really, really good yesterday on the FanDuel side, so he was a hit. At power forward, went with Anthony Davis on the FanDuel side at $10,900. No LeBron James yesterday, so we were looking for 54, 55 points out of him. Got to 40.2, so he ended up being a miss. Kind of unfortunate there overall. If you ran into some Giannis, probably a little bit better for your lineup overall. But Day'Ron Sharpe we had at center once again, $4,100. Looking for 20, 21 points out, got to 25.9, so he was a hit as well. So 4 out of 5 on the FanDuel side. If you had other decent plays, you had a pretty decent chance of cashing over there yesterday as well. So we do see Robert up in here. He's saying happy Friday to myself and everyone in the chat. So appreciate you being in here once again, Robert. Obviously, been popping up a couple times, leaving some chats. I know you did follow me on Twitter as well. So going to be looking out for some price picks later on today over on Twitter. If you're not already following me over there, Coach Craig Sport, should be a lot more that we can look at for price picks in terms of today, but that'll be coming out at some point later this afternoon as well. About 3 hours from now, around 2 o'clock Central Time, we'll be doing a live Twitter space where we are breaking down some of the NBA trades that are happening. Myself and SoCal Ball Nerd as well. Might get Iggy popping up in there too for a little bit, kind of breaking down all the trades that did happen over the last couple of days, kind of our thoughts and opinions and how it impacts the NBA as a whole and those teams that were involved in those trades as well. So if you're interested in that, definitely will be leaving a link down in the comments to that once the stream is over as well. But that's pretty much what we had in terms of the core picks from yesterday. Going to get out of that slide or tab, for now, and go over to the injuries in play, or we can call it some of the guys that got traded that may or may not play tonight as well. So we did have some news so far early on this morning as to some of these guys that are playing and some that are not. So I'm just going to refresh this page real quick before we do get in this portion of it. So for the Spurs tonight, we have Khem Birch, who was recently traded to the team. He's listed as out. Devin Vassell's listed as out. He's out till after the All-Star break. Then we have Keldon Johnson, who's listed as questionable to play. He's been playing through that ankle injury, so I do assume that he plays once tonight. Trey Jones has missed like 4 or 5 games with a foot injury, so it's good to go tonight or not. He's still listed as questionable. Romeo Langford dealing with the thigh injury. He's been out for a little while now, so we'll see if he's able to go tonight or not as well. And then Jeremy Sohan, who's been missing a couple games as well, also listed as questionable. Notably, Devontae Graham, who they did get back in the Josh Richardson trade, is available to play tonight. So he could be a little bit of a sleeper play. Maybe somebody you take as a GPP paydown option. I'm not sure how many minutes he's going to get overall. Really probably just depends on if Trey Jones plays tonight as well as some of these other guys. If Trey Jones, Ramley Langford out, maybe he's a guy you can take a shot on, but maybe they want to give Blake Wesley a little bit more run, just at that point guard spot since he's a younger guy and a guy that they're probably committed to a little bit more long-term than like Devontae Graham. Even though Devontae Graham, one of my favorite players from Kansas. So because I am a big Kansas fan without getting too far down that whole rabbit hole. On the opposite side of that game, we do have the Detroit Pistons, Marvin Bagley and Nerlens Noel, both listed as out. James Wiseman listed as questionable. He came over in one of their trades yesterday. Supposedly, they're going to start him when he's able to play over Jalen Duran, which doesn't make sense to me. But obviously, he's kind of been what we would call a bust at this point in his NBA career without getting too much far down there rabbit hole. That will be a lot of the trade talks later this afternoon. If he plays, he's a GPP pay down option. If he doesn't play, obviously, pretty much just looking at what we've been looking at for this Pistons team overall, minus Sadiq Bey and Kevin Knox. Then for the Phoenix Suns, they're on the back-to-back, so we really don't know their injury report at this point in time. Kind of what they have listed here so far. Kevin Durant, campaign, Landry Shamet list is out. Those guys have been hurt, and they've been hurt for a while, so there's a good chance that they're out once again today. TJ Warren listed as questionable. Obviously, came over in the Kevin Durant trade. He might play today. Darius Bazley came over in a trade for Dario Saric yesterday, so he could play as well. And those would both kind of be interesting pay down options if you want to go there. Devin Booker is expected back tonight. So the Phoenix Suns team, pretty similar to yesterday, but we have Devin Booker and we have some other potential changes there as well. Then for the Pacers side, they recently acquired George Hill and Jordan Nwora in the trade with the Milwaukee Bucks. That kind of sent Jay Crowder over there. Very confusing 3-team trade, but that'll be fun to break down later. George Hill, Jordan Nwora, both not expected to play today. They did get Serge Ibaka in that trade too as well, but it sounds like he's already been bought out, so we'll see if he lands on another team. Then for the New York Knicks, we got Mitchell Robinson out, and then Josh Hart, who came over in the trade from Portland. We'll see if he's able to go tonight or not, but probably not anybody that we're playing for DFS purposes on tonight's slate. For the Philadelphia 76ers, we already have news that Jalen McDaniels, who they acquired yesterday, is not going to be available for tonight's game. Joel Embiid still is questionable, which he's been for like the last 7 games with a foot injury, so I do expect him to play once again. Then we're going to move down to the Charlotte Hornets, who were kind of at the trade deadline. We did see them pick up Reggie Jackson there in that Plumlee trade. They got rid of Jalen McDaniels. Reggie Jackson, the buyout candidate here very shortly once they worked out the agreement to that buyout, we'll say. Cody Martin and Kelly Oubre both out once again tonight. And then we do have Sheed Mikhailo, who is one of the guys that came over in their many trades that is listed as questionable. We'll see if he's able to play tonight or not. Probably not going to be a major part of their rotation either way, though. Then we move over to the Boston Celtics, and kind of a point of interest tonight. There is no Jaylen Brown. There is no Marcus. I assume Marcus Smart's probably just going to be out till the All-Star break at this point in time. Jason Tatum's list is questionable tonight. We'll see if he plays or not. Obviously, if he doesn't play, kind of the possibilities are endless for what this Celtics team could be. Mike Muscala came over at the trade deadline. We'll see if he's available tonight or not. Al Horford listed as probable, and they removed the injury status from Robert Williams that he did have a little bit earlier this morning. So it could be a point of value, but until we get more news on the Celtics, can't really talk too much more on that overall, though. Then we move down to the Utah Jazz. That could be a major value spot today, or potentially on paper. They trade away Mike Conley, obviously, over to the Timberwolves in that 3-team trade with the Lakers. So they got Russell Westbrook back. He's going to be bought out sooner rather than later. Juan Toscano Anderson, Damon Jones also came over. Probably not going to be factors in the rotation either way. Micah Potter's still out, but he's mainly been in the G League. so far this year. Jordan Clarkson is listed as questionable due to illness at this point in time. So the major piece of value that we'll be talking about with our core picks is probably going to be Colin Sexton tonight. He played really well last time out. Laurie Markman's reasonably priced on the FanDuel side. Kelly Olynyk reasonably priced on both sides. If you want to take some stabs on Walker Kessler, you can do that as well. Taylor Horton Tucker is going to be an interesting GPP paydown option off the bench today as well. So Utah may be a spot that we can target a little bit in DFS tonight. For the Raptors, pretty quiet deadline for them. They did pick up Jakob Poeltl, so we'll see if he's able to play tonight or not. If he is, obviously it's going to hurt Precious Achiuwa. It's going to hurt Chris Boucher quite a bit. But if he's not, we're pretty much looking at the same Toronto team we've been looking at for quite some time. OG Anunoby remains out at this point in time. For the Houston Rockets, probably a team that was really active at the trade deadline. We'll see what this starting lineup looks like without Eric Gordon tonight. Does Dyshon Nix start, or is it like a Josh Christopher alongside Jalen Green? That's kind of some questions to be answered. Those both could be kind of GPP pay down options if you want to go there. Could see some extra minutes for some other guys as well. Kevin Porter Jr. remains out. Frank Kaminsky, Justin Holiday, and Danny Green, they all acquired trades, but I would expect him to be able to play tonight. Danny Green may be a potential buyout candidate as well. On the Heat side, the Heat were one of the few teams that really didn't make trades over the last couple of days. I guess technically they traded Dwayne Dedmon away to the Spurs and kind of cleared up some cap space, but that was really about it. Omar Yurtseven, Duncan Robinson, Victor Oladipo, Kyle Lowry, Nikola Jovic are all listed as out. Gabe Vincent listed as probable. So pretty much what we've seen out of this Heat team as of late. Moving down to the Timberwolves, this is a potential value spot as well on tonight's slate, mainly because they did make some trades and they do have some guys that are questionable or kind of been out for a little bit at a time. So Karl Anthony Towns remains out. Rudy Gobert remains questionable. He has not played the last 2 games. We'll see if he's good to go tonight or not. Obviously, if he doesn't play, Naz Reid's going to look like a better play overall. If you really want to go down to Luka Garza in that situation, who went off the last time when they did have that big blowout, you could do that as a GPP pay down option. Probably not going to draw a lot of ownership tonight overall. Mike Conley, we'll see if he plays tonight from coming over from the trade. Same thing with Nickeil Alexander-Walker. If they both don't play, Jalen Noel could be a pretty interesting option on tonight's slate. Kyle Anderson listed as questionable. He's missed the past 2 games with a back injury, so we'll see if he plays or not. Obviously, could open up some minutes for a guy like Taurean Prince if he's not able to go. On the Memphis side, Steven Adams remains out. They picked up Luke Kennard yesterday, and kind of that, I believe that was a 3-team trade where Gordon went to the Clippers, Luke Kennard went to the Grizzlies, and Danny Green did go over to the Rockets yesterday. So if he play, I don't know about Luke Kennard actually at this point in time. I'm just going to assume that he doesn't play tonight, but he could be a spot of value in the future for sure. Then for the Cavaliers, they were one of those other teams that didn't make a trade. So the Cavaliers and the Bulls were the only 2 teams not to make a trade at the trade deadline or, the coming days and before it. I kind of throw the Heat in that bucket too, because all they did was get rid of Dwayne Dedmon and save some cap there as well. But Cavaliers, pretty much what we've been looking at, honestly. They're Dylan Windler and Ricky Rubio are both out tonight. So you'll see a little bit of backup run for Raul Neto, but nothing too crazy on the slate. If you want to take some shots on Garland or Mitchell, you can definitely do that in GPPs. Mobley and Jared Allen, not the worst plays in the world, but a little bit pricey at this point in time. On the Pelicans side, Zion Williamson, Josh Richardson, EJ Liddell, and Dyson Daniels are all out tonight. So the 3 guys that have been out for quite some time, and then we do have Josh Richardson, who they acquired in a trade yesterday. He's going to be out as well today. So, pretty much what we've been looking at for this Pelicans team. I don't mind Brandon Ingram on both sites. He's reasonably priced. If you want to take some shots on CJ McCollum or Jonas Valanciunas, you can definitely do that tonight as well. For the Oklahoma City Thunder, Povashevsky remains out. Jerome Robinson, Earl, and Lou Dort are both questionable tonight. Both have been out for some time with some injuries. It could definitely shake up their lineup. Just pay attention to that throughout the day. They did pick up Dario Saric in that trade for Darius Bazley. We'll see if he factors into their rotation or not. We'll see if he plays tonight or not. So they're just a team that we have to keep our eyes on for some time until we kind of have a better understanding of what they're going to look like tonight as well. Then the Portland Trailblazers, a team that was very active at the trade deadline. And they have 3 guys listed out at this point in time with Joseph Nurkic, Justice Winslow, and Baji once again. So that's pretty much what we see in the recent games for them. Keon Johnson, who was one of their other guys that's been on their team for a while, we'll just put it that way. He is listed as questionable. He's missed the past 2 games, so we'll see if he's good to go tonight or not. He might actually factor into the rotation a little bit more than he would otherwise. Probably not anybody we're playing for DFS, though. And then they do have Matisse Thybulle, Cam Reddish, Ryan Archibald, Kevin Knox, all kind of listed as questionable, all came over in trades, but not really expecting them to play tonight. But if we get news otherwise, we'll keep an eye out on that. Mainly, looking at Damian Lillard here, we're looking at some Anthony Simons. We can look at both centers if you want to play them in GPPs. And then Nazir Little's just kind of a pay down option on tonight's slate, $3,000 on DraftKings, and then like $3,800 on FanDuel. So he's going to be in play if you're looking for somebody to pay down tonight. Probably should get some pretty big minutes, but not the greatest fantasy point per minute guy overall. Then we're going to move down to the Dallas Mavericks. Davis Bertans, Maxi Kleber both out. Luka Doncic listed as questionable. Obviously, if Luka plays, you can play him. If he doesn't, then Kyrie's going to look a little bit better. Some of these other guys might look a little bit better as well, although their prices have been coming up as of late. The Kings are all the way healthy at this point in time. The only guy they picked up at the trade deadline was Kessler Edwards. Probably not going to factor into the rotation at this point in time. For the Milwaukee Bucks, they're on the back-to-back, so we'll see what their injury report looks like throughout the day. But as of right now, looks like Jay Crowder is going to be out. He has not yet played this year, so they're probably going to work him along slowly so that he's ready to go come playoff time. Bobby Portis technically is listed as questionable today. He's been out for a while. Kind of expect him to be out once again. Joe Ingles sat on the front end of the back-to-back yesterday, so expect him to be back today. You could look at him as a GPP paydown option on both sites. And then I do expect Chris Middleton to sit out on the second half of the back-to-back today. He played 25 minutes yesterday, which is the most amount I believe he's played since he's been back. He's been very efficient in the limited minutes he's been playing off the bench, but at this point in time, there's no need to rush him. There's no need to stress him or anything else like that. So I would expect him to be out once again today. Then for the Clippers side, they pretty much made it easy for us at this point in time. We know Mason Plumlee, who came over in the trade, is out. We know Bones Highland, who came over in the trade, is out. And Eric Gordon, who came over in a trade, is out as well. So those 3 guys are out that came over in trades. And then Kawhi Leonard is also out tonight as well. So going to be an interesting Clippers team. Should be some value there. You can take some shots on Terrence Mann, especially on DraftKings at $4,000. Paul George is reasonably priced on both sites. I like him a little bit better on FanDuel. Norman Powell, you can take some shots on both sites. FanDuel price is a little bit higher than I like it to be at this point in time. Marcus Morris, shots on both sites. And Zubac, he's kind of that GPP play. They might actually need him a little bit more tonight against Brook Lopez if he's out there playing big minutes as well. But that's kind of what we have in terms of injuries, in terms of trades that have happened. So just keep in mind, there's a lot of moving pieces on tonight's slate. Make sure you're paying attention as we get closer to lock. I'm going to have as many injuries and updates for these guys that did get traded as well down in the comments throughout the day. Who's kind of playing, who's not going to play. Doing my updated core about 20 to 30 minutes prior to lock as well. That being said, we're going out of this injury screen. We're going to move over to DraftKings and talk about some core picks, at least early on for today. So just bringing this up here now, making sure this is all up here. Yep. So on the DraftKings side tonight, point guard, I do like Killian Hayes tonight. He's $4,700. He kind of regained his spot in that starting lineup the last time out. If he's in that starting lineup, once again, do like him quite a bit, $4,700. We're looking for 23, 24 points out of him. He's averaging almost 25 so far on the season. Goes against the Spurs tonight. Should be a pace-up spot. 2 bad teams, so it's not like either one of these teams should be getting blown out overall tonight. Should have decent-sized minutes. And if Trey Jones doesn't play on the opposite ends, Trey Jones is a decent little defender. Probably going to open up some more opportunities for him as well. Give him and currently have him projected for about 27 points. Has some upside for more, as we've seen in the past. If he's out there, if he's playing big minutes, and he's playing well once again. Then at that shooting guard position, we are going with Colin Sexton at $4,000. Saw last time he went out there, he played big minutes, and he played really well. There is no Mike Conley at this point in time. There might not even be Jordan Clarkson tonight. So if there's no Jordan Clarkson, it's just him and Lauri Markkanen out there in terms of shots. Some of these guys coming off the bench aren't even that greatest shot takers either. So him and Markkanen probably going to be able to do whatever they want tonight. So do like Colin Sexton quite a bit. He's $4,000. Currently I'm projected for 27, 28 points, but definitely has a ton of upside for more as well. And then we move down to small forward with Paul George. He's $8,900. We're looking for 44, 45 points out of him. He's averaging, 42.5 on the season, but there's been some injury games in there. There's been some games where he hasn't played full workload or anything else like that. Kawhi Leonard's not playing tonight. Do like Paul George quite a bit. Got him projected for 46 points, but the upside on Paul George, we know what it is. It's like 60 points or more. So definitely feel free to take that shot once again tonight, especially with all the value that's out there overall. And then at power forward, I got Jason Tatum in here at $11,200 at this point in time. We're looking for 56. I got him projected for 56. If he ends up playing, he's going to look like a very good play. If he doesn't end up playing, then we just pivot off to somebody else, pay up for somebody else. Might turn into like a Giannis on tonight's slate overall, just because of the value that we do have overall. Then last but not least, we have center Mark Williams, might be the most popular player on tonight's slate. Not a guarantee, but $3,200. There is no Mason Plumlee in town at this point in time. So him and Nick Richards are going to get pretty much all the center minutes. They might give like a couple minutes to PJ Washington or something like that, go small ball 5, but not expecting that too much tonight. And they're going against, Boston, who's going to play bigger guys too. So they're probably less likely to go small ball center with PJ Washington in this matchup overall. If Mark Williams stays out of foul trouble, which is not something like he's crazy into doing or anything else like that, going to look like an excellent play tonight. $3,200. A guy that's going to play probably 26, 28 minutes tonight. Fantasy point per minute, get you 26 points at minimum. Has probably the easiest path to 10xing on tonight's slate overall. And all you need him to do to get to 10x is 32 points, which at 28 minutes, he's very capable of doing. If you really want to get off that Mark Williams chalk, we'll call it at this point in time, you could also go to Nick Richards and say, hey, if you don't believe Mark Williams is going to get there tonight, you go to Nick Richards, say Mark Williams is going to get foul trouble, and then their minutes get flipped. Then maybe Nick Richards is a good play. That's just kind of one way to go about it. We really wouldn't recommend playing both in the same lineup on tonight's slate where we already have a ton of value and we have 11 games overall in general though. But this is kind of what I have in terms of DraftKings. If you go with these 5 players that I do have listed here, you have $18,000 remaining, $6,000 per player. Doesn't sound like a lot, but there are a lot of good values already on the slate, and there's probably going to be more throughout the day. So should be able to open up some other values as well, especially in terms of paying up as we do move throughout the day as well. But with that being said, going to get out of DraftKings. We'll move over to FanDuel and talk about my core picks over there. So you'll see some similarities. You'll see some differences as well. FanDuel pricing a little bit heavier on most players. We'll see some guys that are a little bit cheaper though, especially that small forward spot. We got Paul George and Lauri Markkanen there a little bit cheaper on the FanDuel side. So we're going to start off at the point guard position. I got Anthony Simons there at this point in time. This is kind of a placeholder. It may very much change throughout the day. He's $6,200. We're looking for 31 points out of him. He goes against Oklahoma City Thunder tonight. Decent little matchup. Should be a pretty back and forth game as well. He's averaging just under 32 on the season. Currently I'm projected for about 32 as well. There's probably going to be a better value at point guard at some point in time, but Simon's just kind of a placeholder at this point in time. But I do like him quite a bit, and he does offer a little bit of upside as well. And then at shooting guard, going with Colin Sexton tonight. Talked about him a ton on the DraftKings side. His price is way cheaper over there at $1,200 less. $5,200 still doesn't look too bad going against Toronto tonight. If they keep that game pretty competitive, he's going to look really good. If Jordan Clarkson's out, he's going to look even better just because it's him and Lauri Markkanen taking all the shots. Currently, I'm projected for 27, 28 points. Has some upside for more as well, especially if he's out there and he's playing well. And even the last game in the blowout, you still saw him play like 30 minutes. So don't have as many concerns there as we probably would otherwise, especially without a true backup point guard, especially if Jordan Clarkson does not end up playing. At small forward, we're going right back to Paul George. He's $8,200 on the FanDuel side. Don't really need to say too much here. You're looking for 41 points out, essentially what he's been averaging on the season. Should be a pretty back and forth game tonight against the Milwaukee Bucks. No Kawhi Leonard. Currently, I'm projected for 45 points, but he does have a ton of upside tonight as well. Then at power forward, going with Jason Tatum once again. He is $10,800. You're looking for like 54 fantasy points out. Currently, I'm projected for 55 on the FanDuel side. Goes against the Charlotte Hornets. Should be a PSL matchup tonight. As long as he's playing tonight, he's going to look like a really good play overall. And then last but not least, we move down to the center position. Mark Williams getting that start most likely for the Hornets tonight. There is no Mason Plumlee. If he plays 26, 28 minutes, looking about a fantasy point per minute or more. Currently, I'm projected for 26 points, but definitely offers a ton of upside for more. A harder time 10xing on the FanDuel side where he's $4,600. You'd be looking for 46 points out of him as opposed to 32 points on the DraftKings side, but still offers a ton of upside at the same time. And one of the better value plays that you can get on center tonight. As I mentioned on the DraftKings side, if you really want to get off the chalk, that is Mark Williams. You could also go to Nick Richards, hope Mark Williams gets in foul trouble, and they kind of flip-flop minutes. But that's just something that you could do probably more in GPPs. But at this point in time, these are my core 5 picks for FanDuel for today. If you go with these 5 players that I do have listed, you have $24,800 remaining, $6,200 per player. Like I mentioned on DraftKings, doesn't sound like a lot of money, but there are some other good cheap plays out there, and there's probably going to be more throughout the day. So definitely a very manageable slate overall. But with that being said, that's pretty much what I have in terms of the core 5 plays for both FanDuel and DraftKings for today, February 10th. As always, if anyone does have any questions, whether you're watching live or on replay, feel free to leave them in the chat. If you're watching live, feel free to leave them in the comments if you're watching on replay. But that's pretty much what I do have at this point in time. Very interested in hearing what you guys' favorite plays are for today as well. Definitely something that's exciting, especially on a big 11-game slate where there is a ton of value overall. It's not always my favorite type of slates too, just where there is so many values, because if you don't get the right value picks, sometimes doesn't always end up in the best on these days, especially when there are so many values to go around. I prefer days where maybe we have like 6 value picks and you have to pick the 2 or 3 that you like the best, as opposed to like tonight where there might be 20 value picks and you have to kind of pick the ones that you like the best out of them and then kind of hope you fill in the whole puzzle piece correct together. But that's part of DFS. That's part of the fun in it as well. As I mentioned already, check out my Twitter later today, Coach Craig Sport, for some prize pick plays. Check out the space that I will be doing over on the sports affiliation as well, around 2:00 Central Time, talking through all the NBA trade deadline deals as well. Myself, SoCal Ball Nerd, and hopefully Iggy as well for part of it. So it's going to be a very interesting process there. Once again, if anybody does have any last minute questions, feel free to leave them in the chat or down in the comments, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Also be having all the injury updates, as well as guys being available or not available that were traded yesterday as well, down in the comments throughout the day. Updated core about 20 to 30 minutes prior to lock. But with that being said, that's pretty much what I do have for this video. If you are brand new to my channel, haven't joined here before, definitely appreciate you checking it out. Please consider, please consider subscribing. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're really trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports. One that's truly for you, the viewer, and building up this community, talking some DFS right now. It's a lot of NBA DFS. There's some NBA prize picks on Twitter. Sometimes I'll make short videos for that as well. Going to be doing some NFL draft content as well. Over at the sports affiliation yesterday, was able to interview tight end prospect Will Wallace from Tulane. If you're interested in checking out that video, or not that video, that Twitter space on replay, definitely be sure to check that out. It's up on my Twitter. It's up on the sports affiliation Twitter as well. But with that being said, that's what I have at this point in time for today's video, for today's live stream. Do appreciate everybody that did tune in today. Hopefully you guys do pretty well tonight. It's going to be an interesting slate for sure. And hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day.